Coming up on Network Africa. Egyptian security forces kill 17 militants linked to a recent car bomb explosion in Cairo. Zimbabwe's president fires tourism minister Priska Mupfumira over the disappearance of millions of dollars, the country's pension fund. Plus, lawmakers in Togo pass a new law which puts further restrictions on demonstrations following a wave of opposition rallies. Hello and a warm welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shoboali. We begin today in North Africa, where Egyptian security forces say they have killed 17 militants who were linked to a recent car bomb explosion in Cairo. At least 20 people died in the blast. According to the authorities, the militants were killed during raids in Cairo, the city of Fayoum and elsewhere. They are said to have been members of the shadowy jihadist organization known as Assam. Let's get more on this story from the VOA's Edward Yeranian, who joins us live from Cairo. Thank you for joining us on the program. So what more can you tell us about the raids in Egypt in which security forces reportedly killed 17 militants, Edward?
Well, Egyptian media is saying that the members of the cell that were working with the alleged suicide bomber are among those who were killed, including his brother. Egyptian media came up with several videos. Well, actually, one is an audio tape. One is an audio tape of the bomber talking to friends, associates before the bombing. And another is of the bomber saying goodbye to his family. I'm not sure how they came across that video, but it does look like the vehicle in question, and it does look like the driver. And they found security cam footage of the vehicle driving the wrong way before the explosion, and they tracked it actually before it started driving the wrong way on the thoroughfare along the Nile. So they've done some interesting investigative work. How they came up with that information, I don't necessarily know. And the people that were killed, the 17 people who were killed, are allegedly members of this group. As far as the details of the group go, it's not very well known, other than it surfaced a couple years ago, I guess 2016, something like that. And the allegations are that it has ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. I say allegations because I couldn't prove it, but I suspect it does. And one of the articles in the English media said that the group denied having any responsibility with the bombing. So, but of course, you can't believe what they say, and you can't believe what anyone says, really, much of the time.
Yeah, Ed, it seems that not much is really known about this group, but Egypt seems to be facing quite a number of threats from different terror groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and even the Muslim Brotherhood, which the government has, claimed is a terrorist organization. Are there fears that these organizations might be collaborating?
Well, Arab media has tied the Brotherhood and a number of terrorist organizations to both Qatar and Turkey. They tied him to Qatar and Turkey in nearby Libya. A lot of it does look conclusive. These two countries are declared sworn enemies of Egypt. Egypt has traded insults with them. Egyptian media trades insults with their media. I think it's clear to say that they're on the opposite side of the fence on just about every regional issue. So I think we're facing enemies that are state actors. And the state actors support various terrorist groups. They're not the only ones. And I think that's the kind of terrorism we're facing today. We're facing state-supported terror groups that are battling other states, countries, and this is what we're getting. And you see it on a wide scale throughout all of the Middle East. If you want to talk about Libya, many details have been put out over the last couple of years about both Qatar, as I said, and Turkey supporting the Islamists in the east of the country, in Darna, when the Libyan military, Eastern military, was fighting them, both in Darna near the Egyptian border, in Benghazi, Ansar Sharia group, the Fajr Libya militias in Tripoli. They've all, in Misrata as well. They've all been pinned physically to Qatar and Turkey. And of course, the Qatari and Turkey media point to the fact that the Eastern military is supported by Egypt and the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. So I guess we have a war between several alliances, and they're using militia groups against each other.
Yeah, well, Ed, what's the mood like in the country, especially the capital, Cairo? Do the people feel safe, or are they worried that they may experience more terror attacks?
I think that the situation really hasn't changed very much. You have ups and downs. During the Africa Cup football matches for about a month, there were no terror attacks because probably the police and security forces were on high alert. Before that, you had an attack against the tourist bus. There weren't a lot of victims, but I think the goal is not to have a lot of victims. I think a lot of the time it's to scare the tourists away and wreak economic havoc on the Egyptian economy. So it's a war, a low-level war being waged by groups and countries against other groups and countries. So I think we're seeing this pattern, and it's going to continue.
All right, then VOA's Edward Jeranian speaking to us there from Cairo. Thank you for speaking to us on Network Africa.
My pleasure.
Moving on, Tunisia's Liberal Prime Minister Youssef Chahed has announced that he will run for president in an early election scheduled to hold in September. Chahed, who will run as a candidate for the Liberal Tayyat Hound Party, is one of the likely frontrunners to succeed Beji Caid Essebsi, who died last month. Tunisia's president mainly has authority over foreign and defense policy, governing alongside a prime minister chosen by parliament, who has authority over domestic affairs. Tunisia was the birthplace of the Arab Spring protests that swept the Middle East and North Africa in 2011. It's also the only country where those revolts were followed by a peaceful transition to democracy. Nevertheless, it remains mired in a severe economic crisis that has fueled social discontent. Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa has fired Tourism Minister Priska Mupufumira for conduct not appropriate for a Minister of Government. This comes after her arrest over the disappearance of millions of dollars from the country's pension fund. The country's Anti-Corruption Commission alleged that the money went missing during her time as Minister of Labour and Social Welfare. She was charged with the misuse of about $94 million from the state's National Social Security Authority. Mrs. Mupufumira denies the allegations. Let's get more on this story from Zimbabwean journalist Nkoselathi Moyo. Thank you for joining us on the program. So how would you say Zimbabweans are reacting to the sack of the tourism minister?
Thank you very much. On the sacking of Honorable Fumira, Zimbabweans, in my view, are waiting to see if this is real or if this is just a charade or a facade or something which is cosmetic. Because previously, what we were used to is a situation whereby senior government officials are arrested and later on released just to give a picture or an impression that they are fighting corruption, whereas no one will be convicted. So everyone is just looking at how it's going to end. If it's real, then it's good, because indeed we need to fight the scourge of corruption which has ravaged Zimbabwe. But for now, it is too early to celebrate anything. It could possibly be a charade.
Yeah, it's funny you say Zimbabweans are waiting to see if this is actually real, because she is the first serving minister in the administration to be arrested, as the government is promising to tackle corruption. Are we expecting further arrests?
I cannot say Honorable Mfumira is the first minister to be arrested while he's still serving. Because if my memory serves well, I remember Honorable Kuruneri, who served as was it finance minister under Robert Mugabe, was also arrested when he was still minister. But yes, people are still expecting further arrests. If this is not a charade, I expect almost everyone in government to be arrested.
Well, concerning the missing $94 million from the state's National Social Security Authority, what plans are being put in place to compensate pensioners who desperately need this money?
I don't think the government has any plan of recovering that money. Of course, they may arrest and try to see if anything is still left in the accounts. How that money is going to be recovered, I don't really know. And if something is going to be done to desperate pensioners who really need this money, I'm not sure. Maybe a minister or some members of parliament who are quite fully aware of the policies and how some of these things are being done might be able to answer. But for now, I think there's nothing in place to recover that money in terms of delivering it or giving it to the people where it rightfully belongs. So I wait to see how this whole case is going to be handled, how these pensioners are going to be given back their money.
Zimbabwean journalist Nkosilati Moyo speaking to us there from Harare. Now, a bill has been introduced to Parliament in South Africa aimed at creating a national health service for the country. The plan is that the service would be paid for through taxes, including an increase in income tax. Despite some opposition to the proposals, analysts predict that the bill is likely to be made law because the country's trade union movement is putting pressure on the ruling party, the ANC, for it to happen. Now, a group of school children have marched through Hillbrow in Johannesburg, South Africa, to draw attention to challenges women and girls face as the country marks Women's Day. It was a peaceful march which ended at the Hillbrow police station. The message was simply protect the women from harm. South Africa has a high rate of violence against women and girls. This year's national theme for Women's Day in the country is Growing South Africa Together for Women's Participation.
The boys and girls from Centurion College, Johannesburg, marched through the streets of Hillbrow, holding up placards calling for more protection for women and girls in a world where this is increasingly not so. They ended this march at the Hillbrow police station, where the spokesperson gave them tips on how to protect themselves always, boys and girls alike.
No child deserves to be raped or to be treated unfairly. So I'm still going to say this to you. If there is any kind of an abuse that you can see or witness, you must report. Okay? Yes. What must you do? Report. Thank you. Because if you're going to keep quiet, we'll never know about that report. Yes. Either to the teacher, to your friend or whoever, you can report to us and become anonymous. But make sure that your safety comes first. You remember? So your safety comes first. Avoid to walk alone in the street. Yes. At least walk in a group, so that when somebody grabs you, you can scream, other one can help you.
One of the students recited a poem, She's Broken, focusing the spotlight on the plight of the vulnerable woman.
She's broken into pieces. She's broken into pieces. Her smile has turned a frown, her broken crown. Who broke her? 'Cause she's broken. The burden she carries, the strength she confides in me. Who broke her? 'Cause she's broken. The diamond I cherish, shared moments we perished. Her smile, her frown, it's the same these days. My sunshine, my star, my mother, my love. My love. Her love is chemistry, an unsolved equation. She is a queen of a nation, a queen and a family. She is broken. Who broke her?
Hallelujah!
South Africa celebrates women on the 9th of August in honor of the participants of the 1956 Women's March to the seat of government, the Union Buildings in Pretoria, protesting against the apartheid policies in the country. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.